Hi, everybody, and welcome to Salon Today Conversations. And today we're going to take a deep dive into leadership and what it means to be a great leader and how you get there. And today I'm being joined by two really pioneering industry innovators and leaders. We've got the president and co-founder of the luxury brand Oribe, Daniel Kainer. And then we have the legendary Jean Juarez from one of the most iconic salon brands in the country. So welcome, Jean and Daniel.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
And
Stacey.
then you all are not just industry colleagues, but you're good friends. And recently, Jean, you were awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award, and Daniel gave it to you. So that's been quite an honor. So talk a little bit about your relationship and how you became such good industry friends.
Yeah, I should just first say, I'm sorry, Jean. You know, I've had the honor to present a Lifetime Achievement Award to Jean twice, and it was such an honor to go out to Seattle to do this. And you know, the idea really is you've got to be achieving constantly over a lifetime or a career to get such an honor. So that's our friend Jean, my personal friend, our industry friend. Such a good friend. Now, Jean, I'll let you jump in. I just want the audience to know.
Jean, you've gotten that twice, so that means you've achieved 2 lifetimes worth?
That I know of. That's what I know of.
Yeah. So Daniel was kind enough to present me the first Oribe Award after they were in business for the first year. The first award went to Oribe, obviously, and then the second year I was awarded the Oribe Award, and Daniel presented it to me. So we became good friends many years ago when before there was an Oribe product line. We knew each other and respected each other in the industry, and I was very close to them when they started it, and we still are. Remain good friends.
So you got to watch them grow the brand from the bottom up.
For sure. Yeah. It's been great. They've done such a tremendous job, and they're going to be around forever. They're still shaking and moving. It's great.
Well, from your mouth to her ears.
Yeah.
Well, as great leaders in our industry, what do you think it means to be a leader? What does it take?
Jean, go ahead. We'll go beauty over whatever you'll give me. I'll give you the beauty. So you go ahead first.
I think it's a very interesting, deep subject. It's we won't be able to explore all of the attributes of what it takes, but we'll touch on a few. I think the industry needs leaders. Well, all our society needs leaders. And, I think we need to have a collective voice. For instance, I wish we could have been part of the what's the category of special exempt people that got to be open, and because we are
During the pandemic, yes.
Yeah, during the pandemic. What was that category?
Essential.
Essential. We are essential. We are essential to the mental health and self-esteem of millions and millions of people. And they and we found out that self-esteem goes down when you're locked up. You know. So anyway, that would have been fun to have lobbied for that we would be essential. But anyway, leaders have a responsibility to know the way, show the way, and go the way. And there are many people, in my experience, even looking in my organization, I'm always looking for leaders. Which one of them can I give something, give responsibility, and they can lead and grow the company in that direction. And I found out that there are a lot of people who think they're leaders and they're not.
Mhm.
And I also found out there are people who are natural leaders and don't want to lead.
Or don't think they're capable.
Yeah, and yet they are. But one of the most telling things about a leader is how many people will follow. If you think you're a leader and nobody follows, then you're not a leader.
You're not a leader.
Yeah.
It's such a big
Daniel, what
topic.
do you have to add to that?
Well, it's such a big topic, and we think about it a lot. People like Gene, people like Doug Cole, Karen Bowes, Trish Storhoff, all these folks have taught me or introduced the idea of leadership. And the best definition I've heard in the last month is from Edgar Schein, professor, I think emeritus at MIT Sloan School. And he said, it's a relationship with others. And it really boils down to that, because in any team, you're always working towards a collaborative environment. And today everyone's talking about, psychological safety. And I've heard it all my life. It's not the psychological side as much today, but it's this idea that we're creating an environment of trust, an environment of growth, that if people feel comfortable, then we can ever so gently kind of push. And that seems like an aggressive word today. I want to be careful with my word choice, but kind of push them to evolve. And the organization, as well as the individual, always benefits from that.
Well, you lead really well right into my next question, which is how can a leader create an inclusive, collaborative team? And I think that's one of the biggest roles of the leader, is how well they can gel the people who work with them to work together.
Gene, you want to take that one?
Okay, I'll try. I think again, our society today is we see it apparently in lots of areas right now where we have lost trust.
Mhm.
Right? And when you lose trust, people don't follow. They reject.
Yeah.
So to me, leadership is a mass amount of respect, because you can't trust anyone you don't respect. So,
Very true.
so you respect people that care about you, care about what they're doing, and care about the business, and genuinely care about the goodwill in the health of people and their prosperity. If you do that genuinely, and you have a plan, you have a vision that you can share, and passionately share, then you'll have trust, because you'll have respect, and then you can lead.
We see a lot of salons now, including their team in developing that vision and kind of doing it as a collaborative project. What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah, you have to. It's you can only know what you know. When you can put a group together that all are solving the same problem, there's not one of us is smarter than all of us.
Very true.
Very true.
Do you want to add to that, Daniel, about the collaborative team and how to develop that?
Yes,
Have you done it, Oribe?
It's what we try to do, what we've tried to do all of our lives. Imagine that you've got this large table, and your role as a leader is to kind of coach each one of those individuals to be able to kind of speak and to be able to contribute to kind of, where we're going, what we're doing, to react. And it's difficult because we all come from different backgrounds. And so often, so sadly, we've been scolded and we've been, chided or humiliated, and we're just not trained to speak up, because oftentimes, it might not have worked out really well for us. And in the business world, we really need everyone to interact and everyone to speak up, and they feel so much better. And there's been so many studies, when you bring a disparate group of people and you sit around the table and you work something through, you always get the best outcome, opposed to, kind of one vision. And sometimes I find myself, I chat a lot, I talk a lot. I put myself on mute now. We ask the questions, but we're a mentoring culture as well. So I'm very interested to hear how the team works through the challenges. I'm really interested to see how they're coaching sideways to members in their group to see if we can have more of a broader base of dialogue. Critical. I mean, that's one thing that, if you read Jim Collins's book, Good to Great, there's so many wonderful things that come out of that. And someone from the salon industry brought that to me so many years ago. But it's bringing the right people to sit in the right seat on the bus, in the right direction, going in the right direction. And that's, bringing people with these shared values and then working together. So collaboration is one of the key elements of, of running a successful business. And the leaders that can encourage collaboration and bring people into the conversation are really talented leaders.
How important is mentorship and leading? And mentorship is in finding your own mentors, but also being a mentor. And Daniel, you shared in a pre-conversation that Gene has been a mentor of yours.
He has. I've been so fortunate. And the one thing that's so beautiful about our industry, all you have to do is ask. And Gene, in my early career, predating Oribe, you've got someone that's kind of walked this journey, and to sit and ask them, how did you do this? What are your thoughts on this? How would you approach this? And to have someone give you this honest feedback and this honest guidance, it's fantastic. And a lot of people will do it. I was so fortunate to meet Gene so many years ago, and still to this day. I mean, we talk quite often. We learn from one another, and I've got a group of owners and stylists all over the country, all over the world, and we constantly communicate. So mentorship is everything, and it's so much everything. On my watch, we have a mentoring culture. It's been such it's changed how I see the business and how I react to the business through the mentoring, that we have that within our culture. So everyone's expected to gleefully mentor their peers or their others. And I find myself giving the advice, even saying, hey, call up, look at 4 of the people that you admire the most within our business, and just ask them to mentor you for a finite period of time, for 3 months, and ask them in their journey, what has been the most valuable things that they have seen that have helped their career, and then move on to the next. So I'm a big fan of this, of mentoring. It's huge. Gene,
how did you cultivate that in the salons?
Well, wow, that's in our salon. That's the whole idea. We've had a hierarchy, where they earned, I had basic schools to get them licensed, and out of the basic schools, I observed which ones were there for the right reasons. And the right reasons are simple as I want them to come to school to do something, not to have something to do. And that by itself separates those people that are going to be interested in becoming really great hairdressers and giving back to the industry and our brand. So we selected those, and then we put them in advanced education. We drafted them and had a different school, a graduate school. And from the graduate school, we taught not only the how to do your craft, whether it was color, or we were specialists, color or hair cutting or esthetician.
Right.
But why we did it. What was our experience? Why did we arrive at this method? And the fact that that's why we do it. People that know why they do something do it much more efficiently than just people that know how to do it. But then we moved on and we looked for leaders that ran departments, and their job was to mentor. Everybody's job was to mentor. And my job as the owner was to go out and find people like Daniel and be mentored by their experiences, and then bring them back to the salons and give them exposure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, in that very first question I asked you, Jean, what was the phrase you said? You believe you has to know where to go, know where. What was
Listen, ask them where to go, how to go the way and show the way.
Go the way and show the way.
Yeah.
So the last 2 years, I think it's been very challenging for leaders to know where they're going to go next, obviously, with everything that's going on in salon business. How have you all seen some examples of true leadership during this time? And how have salon owners and their teammates kind of responded to this challenge over the past 2 years?
Well,
Well, I'll go ahead on that.
Go ahead.
I think it shows, again, leadership is so important that back to the trust. When we are ever in trouble, we go to leaders. We go to strength. And the salons that struggled the most were the most poorly led.
Mhm.
The ones that survived and thrived, actually, are the ones that were well led. And that is based on trust and respect. And I keep looking at our government, and I keep seeing so much distrust that is spurred out there with big pharma, government, all these things. We have to have somebody that we trust. And that's the salon owner, where you spend the most of your day, that they are looking after you as well as the customer, as well as the business. And that you know what you're doing and how to navigate.
Great.
And Stacey, for me, it was really incredible. So we communicate fairly broadly with our marketplace. Oribe it's fairly small business. It's an impact, but it's a small community, and we're friendly with people in the community, outside the community, and it was a really a wonderful moment, because to Jean's point, you could see all these strong leaders kind of dig in. You know, their number one concern was making sure that their team and their consumer was safe. I mean, that was so amazing. All of them said, these are the number one thing that we're going to focus on, to make sure everyone's safe and everyone's comfortable. And we saw people, coaching other folks. Here's where you find the hand sanitizer that you can't find, or, the cleaning goods that you can't find. We had people sharing in the earliest days, when some found out how to apply for some of the loans that were available. We had people on Saturdays and Sundays sharing with anyone that wanted to learn. Some had hired accountants, some had legal teams, and they shared this really expensive knowledge with anyone in the community. Now, that said, that has been my experience with this community for my entire career. It's a collegial community of people that care for one another, and they share broadly. But I saw, depth and breadth of a tireless group of leaders that kept pushing for the right outcome. And they surrounded their greater group, whether they're competitors or not within the same region, and sharing everything and anything with them. So I saw some great character within the leaders within our community during COVID.
I do want to commend you, because I went on the Oribe leadership retreat to wine country several years ago. And I will say that you all know your customers better than any company out there. Really do.
We try, we've had this direct distribution model for such a long period of time. And we've joined Cow Salon division, and it's amazing because the greater group now, the reach of the group is really strong, and everyone has this similar mindset. So now to even have more of an expanded group of individuals thinking this way. The Japanese, I didn't know this term, they call it gemba. And, it's kind of being on the shop floor. It's being with your customers. And it's really an important concept. I didn't know that word. Now I do know it, but, I think you work harder for those that you love and those that you respect and those that you admire. And I'll never forget, going out and showing this new brand to someone that they didn't need another product line, and they might not have known who Oribe was, but they were listening to me across the table, and they did it based on trust, based on history. And that's an incredible feeling. I'll never forget it. I don't even know if I'll ever be able to live up to it, but it was a very once in a lifetime sort of feeling.
What would either of you offer to people that are aspiring leaders? What kind of advice could you give them to help develop that part of themselves?
Gene, you get that one.
Well, I think you just really have to really be genuine about what you care about. I look at leadership in salons as being a family, extended family. You have to look after them. You have to be, in my case, I got to be the dad who set the rules and who everyone wanted to satisfy. But the other part of it is I got to raise the standards. I got to ask more. And they gave it to me. They would do more for me than they would for themselves.
Mm.
That kind of loyalty where they look back and they say, wow, how far I've come. Look at my awareness. It's not only financially, but what are you aware of? Look at how many people respect me.
Yeah.
Look at look at the prices I used to charge and the prices I'm charging now. Your worth, your self-esteem, your value. And I think basically is that you have to be proud of what you do, and giving them that pride. I think one of the things that we during this period we've got to catch people doing things right, not spend all your time catching people doing things wrong. If you just go in as an owner, just say, God, it makes me feel proud when you do it that way. I love that. Thanks for giving that customer extra attention. If you spent your first a day doing that, catching people doing things right, you'd be amazed at what it does to the atmosphere and the air condition of the salon.
It's a big question, like some of the ones that you're asking, these big expansive questions, but I for the audience, you submitted a few of these ahead of time, so we're able to see. And I called up my friend Nathan DeMar. He's from Malva House of Hair in Oregon. He's a smart guy. I was out there several years ago, and we sat down and we were talking, and his brother, he had this quote, and I'm not sure if it's his quote, but he said his brother always shared it with him when he was growing it up. And the quote is that the sacrifice has to exceed your ambition. So if I was sitting down with,
that quote.
Yeah, it's really good. It really says a lot about it, that, nothing for nothing. I think, what you'll find out, there's nothing really glamorous about kind of the leader's role. It's you're the last one in, and hopefully that sometimes you're the last one out. You're the one that's trying to think about these things. Sometimes you're not going to get the pat on the back, but it's taken me a long time. I'm going to be a certain age in March, but it's one of the most honorable, most valuable roles that I've ever had. And once I learned kind of what it was. And some of my friends will say it's the difference. Leadership is knowing to pick up the piece of garbage on someone else's lawn and putting it in the garbage can. That's leadership when you hear the definition. And oftentimes we think about Winston Churchill or Eleanor Roosevelt, but leadership is a small personal thing. And I think there's so much that once we embrace the idea, we approach becoming our better self. And when I learned that, we have no employees at the Oribe organization. Everyone is a leader, because why wouldn't you want everyone a leader? Because it just unlocks another level, because they're thinking, how would a leader do that? It starts the game in a higher speed earlier in the game. And you know what? It works really well.
I love
Fellow
that.
leader. Yeah.
Now I see a lot of books behind you, Daniel, and yesterday we were on with Gene and he had a lot of books around him too. What are your favorite reads on leadership? What would you recommend?
Oh gosh. Well, some of our audience received my Christmas letter, my holiday letter, and on the back of the letter, I put what I'm reading, what I'm listening to, and what informed my thoughts over. So I'm actually, they say, here's that guy again, he's calling and he's talking about something else. But Gene, go ahead. Do you have some things you want to talk about? And then I'll share everything.
I think I go through phases of interest. I love history, and I love cognitive psychology. To build my brand, I studied sociology, anthropology, and mythology. So I borrowed parts of all of that to put into it. So I've had my reading. Right now, I'm into neurosciences, how the brains work, how do we process,
I think that's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, right now I found out that the amygdala, which is two little parts of our back of our brain, is being overstimulated. All mammals have it, and it controls fight, flight, or freeze. And we are finding it being stimulated all the time right now because we're so insecure. Our society. I think that's probably attributed to road rage, and this inability to turn off the amygdala, where most mammals can. They can turn it right off and go back to normal behavior. Somehow, humans are in our society, we're not turning it off. It's been captured. It's been hijacked. Anyway, those are the kinds of things that I read. The vagus nervous system, how I didn't even know that existed, and how important it is to our whole body. Anyway, it's just fun to read that kind of stuff for me.
Good. Good.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's a why. Why does it work? Why do we behave that way? Why do we do that? I'm just curious. So that's why I read it.
Oftentimes when I would go and meet with Gene, I always bring a note paper. I always bring paper and a pen wherever I go. But when I go with Gene, I would very rarely speak because Gene has such keen insight that I really had to process what he was saying. And there are a lot of very interesting truths, certain leaders, it's very personal and they have their own insights, but it shapes the way that they lead. Now, if you were to ask me the question, what you read, I was an English major in school. I love to read historic fiction, but I have to study a lot because I always feel like we have to bring value to our audience and bring a lot of ideas. So I read a lot. And what I would share with the audience is I think you have to read Good to Great by Jim Collins. Have to. It's a must. Amazing. And the secret to being really amazing is in that book, in the hedgehog concept, and we'll leave it for the leaders to read that. I'm very much influenced. Simon Sinek's latest book, which is The Infinite Game, which kind of shares with us this idea from theology and from game theory. How do we look at something for the long term? Like, how would we go about building something that could last forever? And then we work backwards. And it's kind of people like Gene and some of the other, my mentors, have used the infinite game in the way that they have worked and conducted themselves in business. And what I would give to those that are listening today, and I've searched this out for our community, if you go to the App Store, you can get Coaching for Leaders. It's Dave Stachowiak. I think I pronounced his name well. Coaching for Leaders. It's complimentary. And there are 500, almost 600 bite-sized episodes of some of the best leadership coaching that you can get. Love it. I listen to it all the time.
Good.
I love that. Well, thank you both. This has been a true delight to have you both today and to talk about leadership. So thank you for sharing so much of your wisdom.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, for being a
Thank
good
you,
friend
Gene.
as well.
Thank you, Gene. You're the best.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.